when you think comics and you think satire, you think, of course, of Mad Magazine, a purveyor of that for over a half century, I believe. Uh, we have one of the great artists, a local guy, good friend of the show, Mr. Kit Lively. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Let's talk a little bit about cartooning in general. How did you get into this?
Uh, the cartooning in general, or Mad, or
Well, either.
actually, it's kind of the chicken and the egg, I guess, really, because Mad is what got me started when I discovered Mad. Had a one of those life-changing, life ruining moments, and then it made me want to be a cartoonist, so I became a cartoonist and humor writer, and then eventually worked my way up to Mad after many years.
Many years. I mean, you've been featured in not just the domestic version of Mad Magazine, but the Australian version right here. And
You're
wow,
actually holding it wrong. You're supposed to,
hold it
yeah.
like this. Yeah, that's the right way to read it. Yeah, actually, it's kind of better
actually
upside down.
funnier. It's much
Yeah, it
funnier than
is.
that way.
Well, also one thing I've noticed about you is that you're an independent cartoonist. You wrote a really awesomely funny book called "Damn It, I Swallowed Another One." Now, let's talk about this. It kind of has a Far Side feel to it in a way.
It actually one of the nicest things anyone has ever said about my stuff, actually, in Far Side, is ain't it cool news? They said if Gary Larson is Bill Cosby, I know Bill Cosby's kind of a difficult subject right
Yeah.
now, but if Gary Larson is Bill Cosby, then Kit's Richard Pryor. So that's probably my favorite. And I do get the Far Side comparison from time to time, which is great for me because, again, that's like a big influence.
Right. And I look at you. You do kind of remind me of Richard Pryor. You are pretty edgy, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And plus, obviously, the physical, comparisons cannot be denied.
Yeah. He's kind of a scary
Separated
guy.
birth, looking them,
Yeah. It's like his twin brother. I swear.
I get that all the time.
Okay. So I want to ask you one, and this is one that we get every once in a while from folks. How would you, if you had advice to give to like a kid that reads Mad, or an adult like me that reads this book, if I want to get into the cartooning game, what would your suggestion be?
Well, first of all, unless you really, really love it, think hard about it because it's a lot of rejection. It's kind of difficult. But again, if you really love it, nothing I could say would dissuade you from wanting to, get into it anyway. So just go for it. Find your voice and be funny.
Okay, well, I have a couple of kind of sketches for you to show you here in a little bit. They're kind of, they're not really, they're kind of like stick people, I think that's how Robert Crumb started, right?
That sounds very familiar. And I think that I would love to see those, and it sounds to me like you're on the path to fame and fortune.
Wow, a real artist, man. It just believes in me. That's so awesome.
All we need is just that reassuring kiss on the forehead and pat on the bottom to send us on our way, and that's exactly what I've given you right now. When my hand lingered on the bottom a little bit, that was just for extra encouragement. It wasn't nothing sexual.
Yeah, I did. He gave me just a little squirt out of the eye here. Thanks, man.
I'm feeling a little moist too. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. I gotta go take care of this, guys. Thanks.
Cora here, and I'm with Jill Stevens of Pale Moonlight Theater. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Corey. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, this is a very interesting show. What exactly is Pale Moonlight Theater about?
Pale Moonlight Theater is a More Command Productions. It's a hosted horror genre show, a lot like the old Elvira shows, Midnight Insomnia, those kinds of shows. We've created our own characters, and we bring in what we call the best of the worst in movies. So we have some old movies like The Devil Bat with Bela Lugosi, The Ghoul with Boris Karloff, the old movies, which are fun.
That's awesome. What gave you the idea for this?
I needed something to do. Actually, I have another show called Sprockets and Splices, which is we bring independent films in from around the world, cobble them together, hosted by beautiful amateur models we call the Splice Girls. And I needed something else to do with the Splice Girls. And one of the characters I created was Professor Terrence von Riesling. He's here today with us. And now we're in season 2, and part of season 2 we have a co-host, the original Sin. Sin, when she helped host in season 1 as a Splice Girl, and now because of her acceptance and everybody liked her, she did such a good job, we came through with season 2 and asked her to be the co-host of season 2. So now we have the Professor and original Sin.
That is really cool. And is it always the same person as your co-host?
In season 1, it was not. We had different girls coming in from Sprockets and Splices. We had 14 different girls over season 1. And in season 2, we have Sin as the continuing co-host, and then we bring in other Splice girls from the other show on occasion to help the Professor and Sin.
Oh, that's very cool. I like that idea.
Well, thank you.
Now, where can I watch this?
The show can be seen locally on Hot TV. It's an antenna-based network, broadcast TV, 31.3, 31.2, 26.4, and 50.4. But it's also seen on AMG TV in about 180 different cities nationwide. And during that time, if you happen to catch it, it is linearly broadcast either over Roku, if you have a Roku box, Chrome, or just go to www.amgtv.tv and watch it on your computer or smartphone or whatever.
All right, so no one has any excuse to miss this.
Correct.
And what time does it usually show?
Depending on Hot TV locally, it's at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights. On AMG TV, it's 11 o'clock on Saturday nights. They also broadcast on Thursday nights, I think like 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's an insomniac's dream.
I see. Well then.
And we have calendars, we have posters, and with me today is John Hunter, who's also he's a co-creator of the show, a writer. We have Wayne, who is assistant director and a cameraman. John does the camera and directing. Steve is our photographer. And I don't know where Terry and Sin went. They just disappeared.
They're too important to be.
Evidently, they're too important to be on, yes.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thank you.
And everybody, go check this out. We will provide links for websites where you can see it, and we will reiterate this information as well.
Perfect.
And if you don't see it, I'm going to find you. I'm here with Katie Crenshaw. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Cold.
Yeah, it's a little too cold here today.
Yes.
So I've noticed that you do a lot of watercolor work, and that's not something I normally see at an artist table. It's usually all digital or Actually, no, it's usually all digital.
Well, a lot of artists have moved in that direction, especially in the comic industry. With digital art, you can do it faster, and you can do it in a lot of places anywhere. You just break out your tablet and sketch, and then you take it home and your graphics thing, and so there's a lot of convenience to it. It's also easier to edit. So if you're bringing stuff to an editor and they're like, well, we don't like her arm position, you do it traditionally, and you're like, well, give me another month, or not really, but it's much easier. So I think with the comic industry, digital is a lot more efficient. And so with comic conventions reflect the comic industry, so you see that more. But I'm old school, so I still do a lot of traditional, and it's just, I have nothing against digital. I just only own Photoshop 7 and a mouse, so there's nothing efficient or convenient about me doing digital right now.
True, but like the colors, like I'm in awe of how just bright all of the colors are and how vibrant everything is, and you can see all of the shades and it doesn't get mixed up in a bad way.
Well, that's one of the really nice things about watercolor is it has a transparency, so all the colors come through. And it's hard. One of the things I try to do at conventions is I try to do affordable sketches. And something I've found is just the really cheap Crayola watercolors. They actually preserve a lot of that transparency, a lot of the really vibrant colors, because they're such weird colors. They're not natural. And so for fantasy and stuff like that, it tends to work really well. So I use on a lot of my smaller prints, again, so those are less expensive, so I'll use a lot of the watercolor on that, and that's where you get like the really weird kind of purples or the bright reds and stuff. Something like this or those are acrylic ink with watercolor, mixed media, basically anything I can find. Acrylic ink actually is what gives, like on the red here, the really bright red or the really deep blue. So it's not actually watercolor proper, it's actually a form of ink.
Oh, okay. See, I do a lot of traditional art myself, but I use colored pencils. Every time I try watercolors.
I started out with colored pencils. Colored pencils was what I was doing before I went to Copic markers. I still love them. They've got this great texture and this beautiful, beautiful quality. I just moved away from them, and I don't really have a reason. I've gone every now and again. I'll go back to them. I'm like, why don't I do this anymore? And not really a reason. It's not even like it's any faster or slower per se. It's just
It might be just because I tried this new thing. I like the new thing.
I think it's the looseness I get with the watercolor. I've got and some of them I like the really kind of loose, flowy style. So that tends to be fun, and obviously you don't do that with colored pencil. So what I'll do a lot is when I'm doing Copic markers, then I'll use colored pencil with that, and it's because those tend to be more detail-oriented, less watery, less earth-real type pictures. I want that solid color, and Prismacolor is really good for that.
So what would you say, like, if someone came and commissioned something from your table, what would make you just ecstatic for a commission, like to have to draw it?
I have an obscure Marvel character that I really like. So Toro from The Invaders, I'm always happy to draw Toro for people. And I'm just happy when people know who he is, because he hasn't been in any of the Marvel movies, and they just now brought him back, but I think because he was going to go into public domain. I mean, that's how little they mention this character.
Oh, wow.
So he's starting to show back up, and they do with the All New Invaders comic and stuff like that. More and more people know who he is. But I would be thrilled to get a commission for Toro. Mermaids are also always fun, or just kind of out there commissions are kind of fun. Or if somebody came by and was like, I want a mermaid version of Starfire. Things like that are fun because I don't usually get that.
Okay, that's something to keep in mind, everyone. So when you see her at shows,
Mermaids.
and you commission mermaids. Actually, I commissioned you for a mermaid last year.
Did you do the Mermaid Clint?
Yes.
Yes, that was fun, and Tumblr very much liked it.
Yes.
Okay, but yeah, I just like doing like non-traditional mermaids, like more of the goblin type things. So kind of, but even then, I know somebody wanted me to do like deep sea mermaids, like with the glowing and everything like that. Which I'm sitting here going, with these materials, okay, let's see what I can do. It was a little bit hard.
But it came out really great, didn't it?
Yeah, she liked it. The person I did it for really liked it. I would have liked to have had, my studio and actually been able to do more effects and stuff like that than just the Crayola watercolors on white paper. That made it very hard to do a glowing underwater creature.
I could see that. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today. Here.
And yeah,
Awkward handshake.
again, the Clint Mermaid. That
Yeah.
was fun.
Yes. We'll show this. We'll show it on SCNS Live's Facebook page so you guys know what we're talking about.